When you have a brilliant product and you are finally ready to take it global, there is this persistent expectation that international expansion is going to function a bit like using a GPS.
Right, like a straight line from point A to point B.
Yeah, exactly. The fantasy is that you just type international success into the search bar, you pick the most obvious geographic route on the map, and you just step on the gas.
If only it were that simple.
I mean, it never is, right? Because the moment you actually attempt to cross a border, you realize the map completely ignores the reality of the actual terrain.
Oh, absolutely. The map doesn't show you the potholes.
Right. The roads are unpaved, the toll booths don't accept your currency, and suddenly you are putting out these massive operational fires that you didn't even know existed.
It is the absolute definition of strategic muddy waters.
Yeah.
I mean, a two-dimensional map simply cannot account for the three-dimensional friction of global business.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. We are analyzing a truly fascinating piece of source material today from a Substack called the AI Curies.
Yeah, it's run by a group known as Entropy BI.
Exactly. And specifically, we are unpacking an article penned by Ariel, who is described as turning technology into stories, and Vic, who turns stories into technology.
It's a great dynamic they have.
It really is. And the title of their article poses a very specific, very strategic question. It asks, should AI entrepreneurs in the Chinese-speaking world expand to Southeast Asia first?
Which, might sound like a highly specific niche at first glance.
Right, like it only applies to a small group of people.
Exactly. But the lessons hidden inside this 5-year postmortem are universally applicable to anyone trying to scale a business.
Because they aren't just giving us this, dry, spreadsheet-heavy market analysis.
No, not at all. This is a raw look at real-world building. It's about expanding and fundamentally rethinking what it means to scale an AI business across borders.
Okay, let's unpack this cost. The article starts by setting up this incredibly seductive, almost flawless-sounding strategy for founders in the Chinese-speaking world.
The famous combo package.
Right. The conventional wisdom strongly dictates that Southeast Asia is the ultimate first step for going global. So why is that specific region viewed as the golden ticket?
Well, it all comes down to institutional trust, really,
Mhm.
and the desire to engineer a soft landing.
A soft landing, right?
Yeah, because when a company goes global, the very first hurdle isn't usually product market fit. I mean, it's the sheer friction of communication and legal frameworks.
Oh, for sure. You're dealing with entirely new systems.
Exactly. A founder might have brilliant code and this revolutionary AI model, but the moment they have to pitch international venture capitalists or,
Yeah.
negotiate complex cross-border partnerships.
Which is terrifying on its own.
Right. And then you have to parse through Byzantine legal contracts in a secondary language. I mean, a massive amount of risk is introduced right there.
So they're looking for a geographical buffer, basically, a place where they don't have to jump straight into the deep end of a completely foreign corporate culture.
Yes, and for Chinese-speaking entrepreneurs, the combination of Singapore and Malaysia looks like the ultimate buffer.
The ultimate combo.
Exactly. On paper, these two countries offer this seamless blend of global financial reach and cultural and linguistic familiarity.
So you get the best of both worlds.
You really do.
Okay.
I mean, you can conduct high-level business in Mandarin while operating within a globally recognized English-speaking legal framework.
Reading this part of the source material, it honestly reminded me of setting up a strategy in a video game.
Oh, like min-maxing your stats.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Mhm.
maybe ordering a combo meal where you purposefully combine two different items to get the ultimate benefit. The conventional playbook treats Singapore and Malaysia as this unstoppable two-part business cheat code.
What's fascinating here is that the logic itself is entirely sound on a theoretical level. Let's examine the specific mechanics of why that combo package is so highly recommended by business schools and consultants everywhere.
Okay, break it down for us.
It essentially attempts to split a company's DNA into two distinct optimized halves. You have capital on one side and operations on the other.
Right, so in this combo package, Singapore acts as the glossy front end. It's the business front door.
Precisely.
You set up your regional headquarters there because it serves as an international hub. It has a mature, globally trusted digital finance system.
It's the shiny display window where you court international investors.
Yeah, and the mechanism behind that trust is crucial, right?
Oh, absolutely. Singapore operates on English common law, which provides immense comfort to Western and international investors.
Because it's predictable.
Very predictable. They know exactly how contracts will be enforced, how intellectual property will be protected. It provides the exact legal and financial scaffolding that venture capitalists require before they even think about writing a check.
But Singapore is notoriously expensive. Like, the cost of living and the cost of talent are just astronomical.
Which is where the second half of the combo meal comes in.
Malaysia.
Exactly. Malaysia becomes the operational backbone.
You get a sturdy, reliable, highly cost-effective engine room. The source highlights Malaysia's multilingual workforce and its incredibly strong manufacturing and supply chain infrastructure.
So it's a powerhouse for operations.
So the theory is you secure the prestige, the legal safety, and the capital of Singapore, but you power the actual daily grind with the gritty, cost-effective operational strength of Malaysia.
It's a beautiful division of labor.
It really is. When you lay it out like that, it sounds completely bulletproof. I mean, I'm ready to pack my bags and start a company there tomorrow based on that logic alone.
Right. On a whiteboard, this is a master class in resource allocation. You are perfectly dividing the two fundamental needs of a growing tech business.
But whiteboards don't always translate to reality.
Exactly. As the Entropy BI team quickly discovered, executing a whiteboard strategy in the real world introduces variables that just completely shatter that pristine logic.
Which brings us to the actual lived experience of the authors. And they actually subverted the traditional playbook right from the start.
They didn't do the Singapore thing first.
No, they didn't begin by setting up a shiny headquarters in Singapore. Back in 2019, they started on the ground in Malaysia.
Building Cardcoin.
Right, building an ESG and carbon data platform called Carbcoin, which has since evolved into a project known as eCoin today.
And they explicitly note that they didn't choose Malaysia merely because it was the cheaper option.
Right, which is kind of the common, somewhat dismissive stereotype in that combo meal strategy we just talked about.
Yeah, they didn't just want cheap labor. They went for the talent and the geopolitical positioning.
The linguistic triangle they describe in Malaysia is a massive strategic advantage.
Whoa, it's huge.
You have this multicultural environment that naturally produces professionals who can seamlessly switch between English, Chinese, and Malay.
And if you are building a data platform that needs to interface with local Southeast Asian suppliers, Chinese manufacturers, and Western buyers.
That linguistic agility is literally worth its weight in gold.
It really is. And they also recognized Malaysia's unique position within ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations.
Right.
Malaysia maintains deeply balanced, interdependent relationships across the entire region. I mean, they compete with neighbors like Singapore, but they also serve as a critical node in their supply chains.
So it's deeply integrated.
Very integrated. It provided a grounded, highly connected environment to build an ESG platform, which inherently relies on tracking complex supply chain data.
And by all accounts, this grounded approach was working. I mean, Carbcoin was gaining traction, they were proving their model, they were gathering real data.
Things were looking great.
But then, as it did for every single business on the planet, 2020 arrived.
Yep, the pandemic changed everything.
It forced a complete reevaluation of how business is conducted.
And the shift wasn't just about, switching from offices to Zoom. It fundamentally altered the psychology of venture capital and due diligence.
Oh, for sure. You couldn't just fly out and meet someone anymore.
Exactly. When international investors can no longer fly out to meet founders, shake their hands, physically tour their operations, they demand a significantly higher level of institutional security before deploying capital.
The tolerance for regulatory ambiguity basically dropped to zero overnight.
Precisely the opposite of how business was done pre-2020. I mean, this forced the Entropy BI team into a massive strategic pivot.
They had to rethink everything.
They had to ask themselves, if the next stage of our growth, specifically our fundraising, has to happen entirely online, where do we need to be legally domiciled to make investors feel safe?
And that question leads them directly to Singapore in 2021. They established Entropy BI there to attract that international capital.
It was the logical next step.
Yeah, and the source makes a really interesting comparison here. They specifically note that they chose Singapore over Taiwan.
Right.
They observed that Taiwan's regulatory and investment structures actually made cross-border fundraising quite challenging.
The underlying mechanisms in Taiwan, particularly regarding foreign exchange controls and foreign ownership regulations, they're really designed to protect the domestic economy.
Which makes sense for Taiwan.
It does. It provides internal stability, but it introduces massive friction for a foreign investor who wants the ability to seamlessly inject capital and, more importantly, easily extract their returns.
Yeah, investors want to know they can get their money out.
Exactly. Singapore, by contrast, is engineered from the ground up for frictionless cross-border capital flow.
Here's where it gets really interesting because I am following this timeline, right? And I'm looking at their decision-making process. They successfully proved the product market fit in Malaysia with Carbcoin.
Check.
Then, when the pandemic altered the fundraising landscape, they proactively set up in Singapore to capture that international capital through Entropy BI.
Check again.
They adapted perfectly. They essentially built the highly touted combo meal strategy just in reverse order. So, I mean, where's the catch? Why isn't the rest of this article just a victory lap?
The catch lies in a deeply embedded psychological trap. Because their operational model had worked so well in Malaysia, the founders came to what felt like a highly logical conclusion.
Okay, what was the assumption?
They assumed if it worked in Malaysia, then Singapore will simply function as a more international, better-funded version of Malaysia.
Oh, wow. And that's the trap, right?
It's a huge trap.
Because as a founder, you're looking at a map, you see that the two countries literally share a border. They are economically intertwined, and you just kind of trick yourself into thinking they share a business culture.
It is one of the most common and expensive assumptions founders make. Proximity does not equal similarity.
Right.
Assuming that Singapore is just Malaysia with more venture capital completely ignores the reality of operating across two sovereign nations with vastly different economic priorities.
I want to dig into that cause. The source material states that the founders fell into one pit after another.
Oh yeah, they use that phrase a lot.
But it's easy for us to just gloss over that phrase. What does a cross-border pit actually look like in practice for an AI tech startup?
Let's look at the actual mechanics of cross-border management. You have your legal entity and your capital sitting in Singapore, but your engineers and operational team are sitting in Malaysia.
Okay.
Suddenly, you aren't just building AI software. You are navigating international transfer pricing laws.
Oh, wow.
You have to figure out how the Singaporean entity literally pays the Malaysian entity for its services without triggering double taxation penalties in both jurisdictions.
That sounds like an accounting nightmare, or even just navigating HR during a pandemic. Like, if your Singaporean headquarters suddenly needs to relocate key Malaysian engineers, but work visas are completely frozen, your product roadmap just stalls out instantly.
Exactly. Furthermore, the speed and culture of decision-making are entirely different. Singapore is hyper-optimized for speed, efficiency, and strict regulatory compliance.
Everything is by the book.
Very much so. Malaysia, on the other hand, often relies much more heavily on relationship building and local nuance.
Which takes time.
It does. When you try to force the operational culture of one onto the regulatory framework of the other, the gears completely grind to a halt.
Managing cross-border regulations isn't like translating a language. It's like trying to play chess on one board and checkers on another simultaneously while the clock is ticking.
That is a perfect analogy.
You make a move that is perfectly legal and brilliant on the chessboard in Singapore, only to realize it completely disqualifies you on the checkers board in Malaysia.
And as the authors point out, these are highly specific, highly contextual problems that no simple Google search can solve.
Right, you can't just look this stuff up.
You cannot type how to optimize double taxation for an ESG data startup spanning Singapore and Malaysia during a border lockdown and expect a clean, step-by-step tutorial.
The knowledge simply isn't indexed, it has to be lived. And they embrace this painful reality so fully that they actually printed a t-shirt with their core startup philosophy on it.
One pit at a time.
One pit at a time, I love that.
It's a remarkably honest distillation of the entrepreneurial journey. I mean, we tend to mythologize startup failures as these massive cinematic explosions.
Like blowing through $1 billion in a week.
Right. But in reality, failure or extreme friction is usually a death by 1,000 cuts. It is a daily grind of falling into regulatory, cultural, and logistical pits and having to climb your way out one by one.
But this raises a glaring question for me. We are talking about a team of highly intelligent founders who are literally building artificial intelligence platforms.
Right, they are tech experts.
Data analysis is their native language. If they have access to all this processing power and predictive modeling, why couldn't they just leverage AI to analyze the two markets, predict these cross-border friction points, and just route around the pits entirely?
This raises an important question, and it cuts straight to the core thesis of Ariel and Vic's writing. We currently have this cultural perception of artificial intelligence as an omniscient oracle that can solve any strategic dilemma.
Like it has all the answers.
Exactly. But the authors highlight a fundamental limitation in today's technology. AI is an unparalleled engine for execution.
Execution, right.
It can write flawless Python code in seconds. It can generate comprehensive pitch decks. It can scrape the entire internet to find the most cost-effective local suppliers.
It is the ultimate administrative and technical assistant.
But an assistant, no matter how powerful, only acts on the parameters it is given. An AI can read the tax code of Singapore and Malaysia in an instant, but it cannot predict how a specific local bank manager will interpret a nuanced compliance rule on a Tuesday afternoon.
It doesn't have that human context.
No, it doesn't. The profound limitation they discovered through 5 years of trial and error is this AI can build your product, but it cannot tell you where your market is.
It can't just look at a map of Southeast Asia, crunch the numbers, and put a red X on the exact city where you will succeed.
Because a market, in the truest strategic sense, is not a geography. It is not Singapore or Malaysia or the United States.
Okay, if a market isn't a place on a map, how do they define it?
They define a market as your immediate next strategic move.
Wait, let me process the mechanics of that. A market is your next strategic move.
Let's break down the logic. Imagine a founder whose immediate burning priority is extending their financial runway.
Okay, they need money to survive.
They desperately need venture capital to survive the next 12 months. Their strategy dictates that their market is wherever international investors are congregating and deploying capital.
So in this case, their market is Singapore.
Yes, regardless of whether a single end user for their product actually lives there.
Oh, wow. That completely reframes the concept. Because if we look at the flip side, let's say a founder is entirely bootstrapped.
Okay, no outside money.
Right, they have no venture capital,
Yeah.
and their absolute priority is finding their very first paying customer just to generate immediate cash flow.
Right.
Their market isn't the glossy financial hub. Their market is wherever the pain point for their specific product is most acute, which might be a manufacturing facility in rural Malaysia.
The rules of the game change entirely based on the resources you have and the specific goal you're trying to achieve in that quarter. A strategy designed to build a long-term, prestigious brand looks entirely different from a strategy designed to optimize short-term cash flow.
So the original question that prompts so many founders to look for that combo meal cheat code, where should I go, is fundamentally the wrong question.
It puts the cart before the horse. The critical question, which an AI cannot answer on your behalf, is why am I going there?
This is a massive aha moment for me. It strips away all the geographical noise. Whether you, as a listener are trying to figure out if you should start selling your e-commerce products on Amazon, or you're debating relocating to a new city for a career pivot, or you're an AI founder opening a regional headquarters, you aren't actually picking a physical location.
No, you're not.
You are declaring your current strategic priority. You are deciding what matters most to your survival and growth at this exact second.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this realization is the exact reason why Ariel and Vic created the AI2 EMEA platform and why they document their journey in the AI Curies newsletter.
They want to share the reality of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They didn't build an educational program to teach other founders how to rigidly copy their specific geographic moves across Southeast Asia.
Because if a new founder blindly copies their move to Singapore, but that founder's actual priority is securing cheap manufacturing rather than courting venture capital, they are going to fall into a massive financial pit.
They will burn through their capital in months. The goal of sharing this postmortem is to help future founders build better internal decision-making frameworks.
To teach them how to think, not just what to do.
It's about equipping them to evaluate their own specific priorities so they can make their next move without falling into the exact same traps.
It's a philosophy that challenges how we view the entire tech landscape right now. I mean, when an AI business goes under, the postmortem rarely concludes that the underlying technology just wasn't smart enough.
Almost never.
The failure usually stems from the human element. The founders got distracted by the noise of the perfect playbook and started with the wrong foundational question.
They overly index on the where and the how, which are execution problems, and entirely neglect the why, which is a strategic problem.
And AI can't help but the why.
AI is rapidly mastering the how. It remains entirely useless at the why. That burden rests exclusively on human judgment.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We started this deep dive by exploring the incredibly seductive illusion of the perfect geographic expansion. The idea that you can just combine the shiny, capital rich front door of Singapore with the sturdy, cost effective operational engine of Malaysia and unlock this, automatic win.
The ultimate cheat code.
Right. But as we tracked the lived experience of the Entropy BI team through the pandemic and beyond, we saw the underlying mechanics of real world business. Assuming that a neighboring country operates on the same logic just because it shares a border is a one-way ticket to a logistical nightmare.
It basically guarantees that you will be navigating cross-border tax laws, cultural friction, and operational delays one pit at a time.
And the ultimate revelation from their 5-year journey is a complete redefinition of how to view your business landscape. AI is a miraculous tool for execution. It can synthesize your data, write your code, and build your product.
It's incredible at all of that.
But it is totally blind to human strategy. Only you can define your market because your market isn't a physical place on a map.
It really isn't.
It is your priority. It is the core reason you are making your very next move.
Which leaves us with a highly provocative implication for the future of work. As AI systems continue to rapidly improve at the mechanics of building anima, as they become exponentially faster at writing the software, formatting the financial models, and optimizing the supply chains, the actual execution of business is becoming increasingly commoditized.
Execution is becoming cheap.
Exactly, it's becoming cheap, which means that in the future economy, the only true, irreplaceable premium left is wisdom. It is the clarity of thought required to know exactly why you are making a specific move when you have the technological capacity to make almost any move you want. So, we want to leave you with a question to chew on as you go about your week. In your own career or your own business, if you had an AI that could flawlessly execute your next major project today, would you actually have the strategic wisdom to know why you're asking it to do it?
That is a heavy, essential question to leave off on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you are attempting to expand a multinational AI startup across Southeast Asia, or you're simply trying to navigate the very next step in your own career, we hope this helps you cut through the noise and define your specific why.
Figure out your why.
Absolutely. And when the friction inevitably arises, don't panic. Just take it one pit at a time. Until next time, keep exploring.